hour number 1 of the Dr. Future Show.
Good afternoon, everyone. Dr. Future here, a.k.a. Al Lundell, and Mrs. Future,
hello, everybody.
a.k.a. Son at the controls.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about the future for you here on KSCO.
Hi, my name is Denise Gallant, and this is In the Loop Art and Technology. And today we have Allan and Son Lundell, and they are the Dr. Future Show.
Dr. and Mrs. Future.
Okay.
We are the Futures.
Oh, okay.
It's our online persona. We are the prognosticators of the future for the Monterey Bay on KSCO.
Okay.
It's a radio station here in the area.
Oh, yeah. No, it's been around for a long time.
It has.
A lot of past and future coming up.
It looks like it's that funky little station from the 40s right along the water.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Very
beautiful.
Cruz. And of course, being mutants from the future for a long time, it was sort of our natural evolution to get there with the show.
What has that future look? You know, that really pretty curved glass. You know, it's like they were looking forward to that.
It was based on the RCA design for the radio station in Radio City Music Hall in New York City.
I didn't know that.
Here in Santa Cruz. Yeah, the same floor design, and the whole station built in 1947. It floats on a 2-inch thick rubber.
Oh, wow.
Down by the water.
Just to be quiet.
Really quiet. 150-pound doors.
Huh.
Oh yeah, that radio station is very remarkable. You'll have to get.
You ever get a tour, you'd appreciate it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So how long have you been doing your show?
2 years now.
Okay.
And it's, in a sense, it's
like this show, right? It's about technology and art and
exactly. And radio and television are about to go through radical change. And we thought we'd really get familiar with what was really good about radio and TV before it goes away. Because I feel that there are certain elements of these two mediums, radio and television, which our generation was brought up with, that will translate well into the new media. But you need to immerse yourself in what works with it.
So what did you find in the radio side of it that you think works?
What do you think? Talk radio?
Well, here's the thing. As edge runners, you know, we're here watching boundaries dissolve. And so our motivation for going to radio was that it was a great theater for the imagination. It was a great place to bring our ideas and to reach the existing audience. And we're helping to create an understanding of the transition from the old technology to the new technology. So what we do with it is we go into the live medium of radio, which, you know, live events will never change, just the technology through which that information is delivered. And we create a show that is timeless. So it's a live show in that it has call-ins, but it's a web show. It's the drfutureshow.com, and therefore the audience could tune in whenever they want, and it's part of the, you know, the digital media that can be copied forward into the future.
Okay, well that's interesting. So just like this show, it gets recorded as we do it, and then you could download it at any time.
Well, here's the thing, is that you can be listening to the radio show, and if you're around a computer, you can go to a web page, and we'll change the content on it on the fly. So you just go to one web page, ksco.com/drfuture, and we'll change the content to whatever we're talking about. And we usually have about a dozen topics per show and a guest, and you'll be able to watch what we're saying, and we'll change we can put movies up, we can put websites, still frames, whatever we want.
So we're kind of like what we have here with all of our computers.
We'll go like this, and you see what we're talking about. That's great.
I see, okay.
It's audience crowd surfing. So, you know, basically Dr. Future controls the screen, and we all have a group conversation that's connected with a chat room through the Sinacast system, and anybody in the audience can go to a particular address that we tell them, and they'll see what's on our screen. So it's a way of everyone seeing the same thing at once.
And so it could be anywhere in the world, of course. Yeah. So do you get call-ins from all over the world, or what's an interesting one, for instance? That
Wisconsin, we get calls from Wisconsin, Montreal, where it's really cold. People want to tune in to hear what us what's going on in warm, sunny California.
Oh, yeah, like today.
It's worse than Montreal.
Probably, yeah.
So we get some friends that are, Facebook friends that have found out about us, and they turn their friends onto it, and it's a social network, And the thing is, old media and new media aren't really separate. There's a lot of ways to connect the two, and we're experimenting with that. We're seeing what works and what doesn't work, and moving forward with what works, and keep it evolving.
Okay. So as far as your guests that you've had on, what kind of guests that we might know of?
Well, locally, we've covered the Santa Cruz Film Festival. We've had Sheree Gwynn, who's
going to be your guest today.
Yeah.
We've had him on. He's a great educator.
Gets our prayers.
He's battling with cancer now.
Right.
Yeah, but his contributions at Mount Madonna School to educating our kids to their full potential are just spectacular.
Yeah, and I was able to video him after your party. Allan had this great party, and Son had this great party, and so I met up with him again, and so I did video him in November at his class. So today was going to be the follow-up of that. So I will get this video together and show it, though, eventually on this show.
In the media world, we've had Marty Collins on from the Digital Media Factory here. We've had Frank Serafini on. We went to Frank Serafini's studio and did a live remote from his new location. Yeah.
Right after we hooked up with him at the film festival on your panel last year, we took a trip down and visited him at his ranch.
That's so funny because somebody heard it and called us and said, Frank Serafini is on. And so we just assumed you were talking to him, on a phone. Anyway.
Yeah, we were talking to our radio station on the phone.
Yeah, so Frank Serafini, for those who don't know, is a fairly well-known film sound composer and creates his own sounds. So he was one of the first people to really, really create a whole library of sounds. And
he's famous for the Star Trek sound library. Many things, but that was one of his early ones.
I would say one of our main messages with this is that there's so many amazing, intelligent people alive today, more so than ever in the history of the species. And we feel that this can trigger off a new renaissance, that this can make the 15th century Renaissance seem like child's play. The tools that we have available, the internet at our fingertips, incredible consciousness, the incredible technology. Why not? It's all a question of attitude. And so we promulgate I would say a positive attitude towards creating a better world based on working with each other.
Did you bring anything exciting today to show? Speaking of tools.
Well, did you give me an idea of some of the things that we cover in the show? No.
I'll kind of give a little background. We had a sort of a live panel this week with people who we thought were experts in the new economy. And it's not so new, but there are new aspects of it. So we focused this week on multi-level marketing and media, and how at this time with, everybody's so worried about the economy and things being so crazy, and, people in Santa Cruz, people in the United States are wondering where are the new jobs going to come from, and how are we all supposed to replace kind of our old traditional ways of plugging into the economy with something new. And as Al likes to say, what's kind of going through the tribe right now is start your own business, start your own internet business, be your own entrepreneur. And what's new is that these companies are basically giving you a storefront on the web, and they're really looking for direct salespeople to just bring them customers, and then they do the rest of the work. And so we talked to Michael Zwirling, who for many years has had Longevity as his multi-level direct marketing company, which actually supports the radio station. Advertising does not support media anymore. You need a third-party source of income to do media.
Yeah, let me be completely clear on that. Advertising is not supporting traditional radio anymore. It's too expensive to do radio, and people aren't willing to pay enough for it as advertisers.
Well,
But what
and
works
it's a monopoly
is
industry.
network marketing, running a multi-level marketing company through a radio station.
So
which
is
was,
it more like this group then gets money from the people that are listening to the station?
Yes, people who
Okay.
listen
Like donations?
sign up, and they're basically in the downline of the radio station.
Well,
And it's more complicated than that, but essentially the radio station becomes a means of building your downlines on that. And so we brought MZ on the show. It's up on our website now. And
we also
talked-
brought two other ones that are.
And we also, ACN
right
has
now.
hit recently, the Donald Trump multi-level marketing thing. A lot of people have signed up for that. There's another one, Apogee, for gas, because
Natural
gas
gas.
has been deregulated. And, people more and more aren't getting jobs, and so what are they going to do instead for money? And network marketing is one of the options. So we explored, is this really the future of the new economy, or is this false hope?
So let's see, so you said setting up the lines. So what does that mean? So in this...
Multi-level marketing? You have people under you. It's like pyramid. It's like,
Okay.
You want to describe it?
Well, yeah, any sales depends on you making a profit based on what you're selling. And what is different about multi-level than other kinds of sales is that you don't just make a profit on the product, you also have relationships with other people selling the product, and you also make money based on the success of your team and the other people and their success. And so setting up a line, you actually have two products. You sell the product itself, like maybe vitamins or natural gas or phone products.
Or a radio show, or a radio station.
You sell the business opportunity, in which the radio show gets the business opportunity and they advertise the products, and people who come in for the business opportunity become part of the radio station's business.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
But keep in mind that sex, politics, religion, arts, and science, the future of those areas, that's what we cover.
On the Dr. Future show.
Like, for
Okay.
example, it came through this week that it turns out that gorillas are closer related to us than we thought. We thought we were from chimps, and we mostly are, 98%. But there is now evidence that we are closer to gorillas in some way. So we covered the genomic sequencing on that and what that possibly means.
And did you have an expert on the show?
Sometimes we do. We
Okay.
usually they're story bites, and if there's enough audience response, we'll bring in the expert.
Oh, okay. I see. So you invent the subject matter. It isn't always wrapped around a person.
No. Well,
I see.
the second hour is usually an interview. The first hour is a number of shorts. But another idea that we brought out, another piece of research from Microsoft, where they turn monolingual speakers into a multilingual. Your speech, like for example, this television show is in English. You would have the ability to have instantaneous translation of 27 different languages of your choice underneath me right now as you're listening. And it could be done like that in real time. And Microsoft just finished creating this multilingual software package, which I thought was very interesting. So we will mention that because a lot of people are speakers and want to reach a global audience at this point. And with
Okay.
the internet, the biggest barrier is not the transmission, but the understanding. Right? So if we can deal with the language problem, we address that.
Okay.
We'll cover the whole phenomenon of 3D printers, a remarkable technology that will probably move manufacturing from China back here again.
So a 3D printer just takes a 3D model and creates an object out of that, right?
Right. The thing about 3D printers is that they're not just printing ink or plastic, but they're printing living tissue now. You can actually print body parts, like an organ, like a kidney. And they demonstrated a kidney at TED last year.
And so it's a very different paradigm in manufacturing, because what the scientists are studying now is how to create things in the future from the ground up. So instead of having a distributed factory system where everybody makes a little part and then you bring them all together and somebody assembles them. We're actually looking into ways where physibles, which are files that can be sent through the internet to places where those files can be run through a printer, tell the computer how to assemble things almost at the molecular level or at the dot level of the materials, and then those are just printed in 3D form, and then they just kind of grow up from, you know, the base level.
Okay, so you don't have to acquire materials from other places. It's basically a set piece of gel, like a sculpture ready to be formed.
And the really futuristic concept is that we believe that we're understanding the nature of chemistry and physics and nanomanufacturing so much that we're approaching holodeck tech. You know, we're going to get to a place where, like on Star Trek, you can go and say, "Computer Earl Grey hot," and it'll just put it together for you in your machine.
Yes.
Okay.
Science fiction is becoming reality very rapidly at this 2012 turning point.
Okay, and that was just the one you were just talking about, again, on that kind of a theme. But what are some of the ones that your audience have really responded to?
Well, the 3D printers was very popular. 3D printers was...
Driverless cars.
Yes, the autonomous vehicles. It's a big issue. As computers drive our cars, will there be room for humans on the roads? You know,
Or the skies.
it turns out that they're so much better drivers, and they can pack much higher density, that they don't need stop signs, they don't need lights. They can cruise at much tighter configurations with each other. It's going to reach a point socially where it's not going to be acceptable to have humans and robots on the road at the same time.
Because humans will be so slow.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, just as you said, there won't be any set road, for instance. It sounds like there's more like areas of population, cars, people.
Well, one of the articles that we covered not too long ago was the idea that you don't need stop signs. I mean, the technology, the navigation technology that's used by the driverless cars is a networking system that's equivalent to computer packet switching. And so all of the individual packets can get to the corner whenever they want, and they don't have to stop because they already know way ahead of time, like, what else is going to be arriving at the same time, and they slow down or speed up so that they can all go through at the right time. So.
And they have 360-degree vision. They have a slow scan radar, so they're able to see around the vehicle better than you using your side view and your rear view mirror. You know, it's just no comparison.
Wow.
The only problem is that the software might hiccup, in which case you probably could have a serious issue. But other than that,
I guess so. That's scary.
Well, that's like brakes go out. I mean, if it would be a mistake, not something you would expect on a regular basis.
Or the sun flare would cause the GPS to...
Yes, well, but keep in mind, nowadays it's just somebody getting a text in and they look down to see who it is and the car crashes. There's 50,000 people a year in this country alone dying from alcohol in driving, and probably almost that number from being distracted in one way or another. So the machines don't have any of those problems.
I predict that in the future, driving will be kind of like a theme park thing. People will do it for the fun of it, as a nostalgic thing, but if they want to get somewhere, it'll be a whole different story.
Yeah, it's big stuff for today, where we're so used to like the car as being an extension of our body. But in the future, it'll be more like a cab. Or you use your phone to call it, and it'll come wherever you are, pick you up, and take you and drop you off. It'll be very utilitarian along those lines.
Okay. So you wouldn't have one.
No, and why own it? I mean, how many cars are parked along the roads just sitting there? What a waste of metal, and resource. So that would go away.
Getting back to something you said earlier about the social networking and kind of the new consciousness of it, are there any technologies that really push that? Like, of course, we know the internet is making people understand that there's people all over the world that need help, that need to we need to communicate with. We're just not in our little, tribe anymore. We are in a global network. So is there something that we don't know about that you've heard about that's new and exciting?
That's coming in with social networking? I think the combination of some of the tools will become something new. And I can think the combination of Facebook and Twitter with radio and television will become something new.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, the combination of those things, but nothing else that's specifically new. Because the irony of it is, we see the tentacles, they're all there. And of course, we've all, for years, we've seen the computer and the TV. It's like,
the reality
when will they come together? But now, it's
coming together.
The meta programming, the great transition story that this foretells is the global brain, the species superorganism, where the computer networks are an extension of us, meaning they're essentially our nervous system, and they connect up everybody globally to form a global consciousness that is the internet. In a sense, it's just the opposite of what Carl Jung talked about with the collective unconscious, where we have a shared collective wisdom that's expressed through our dreams. We have the same dream language throughout our species. But this takes that and turns it inside out. It takes the inner and makes it outer by expressing it out loud. So the internet becomes an externalization of the collective unconscious, which and Peter, I would say other philosophers have looked at it as a nervous system, which makes us evolutionary biologists, which means that we will start to have a new identity beyond being an American or Canadian or a Santa Cruzian or within a certain family story. We'll have some kind of identity that determines who we are in relation to the species, and a species identity, if you will.
And one of this book I read last summer about was the evolutionary ape, but the idea that we invented a tool, and now that tool has accelerated our growth, exponentially, and now with this new tool all kind of becoming, it's almost as if there's another tool to be made after that.
And then the tools become AI, which is the singularity, as Ray Kurzweil said, that's the point where the machines become self-aware. And typically, most people are afraid of that. Terminator mythologies come from that. But the reality is that there probably going to be a deep collaboration between biological intelligence and synthetic sentience.
So it will actually help us evolve.
Yes,
faster.
We'll have augmented memory. You want to learn French, you have French like that. Any language will go away, the Tower of Babel will disappear. We'll all connect with each other much more fluidly in terms of our thoughts and deeds and actions, and that on a global scale. So nation states will become less relevant as a way to organize, or just a layer of organization.
The way I look at it, 100 years ago, the big evolutionary advancements were kind of in the realm of transportation and toilets, right? These are like the great new inventions at the turn of, from 1900, around that time. And so people were really having sort of freak out experiences trying to imagine going faster than 20 miles an hour, which they'd never gone faster than a horse, And yet, the people who were inventing cars and were really excited about the future and were trying to catch up with trains, these people really saw these inventions as taking humanity where we can't wait to get there.
Or Jules Verne.
Or Jules Verne, yeah, exactly.
Something
and
fun.
This is just the maturing of that technology, the steam engine or the combustion engine or whatever. And so we're really just at that same kind of a juncture with information, with the science of biology, with enhancing our biology through computers and accelerating things that humans love to do, like giving us more memory, even though it's not in our head, even though it's harder to recall so much information, but it's not hard to look it up. You know, so it's like we just do things in a different way. We're still the same creative beings. We're still the same. We still have imaginations. We still have emotions. We still have a love of all of life and possibility. We're just enhancing it with our tools.
Well, I mean, I hate to be simple about it, but just putting together a video project and typing in. My last show was on Emu, and so all I have to do is like look on. Today I was going, okay, which came first, the Emacs or the Emulator 3? Boom, there it is, you know, and then all the pictures I could possibly want, and all the videos that people have done all over the world on the Emulator 3 is right there for me to use. You know, it's just amazing. And so the difference between being a 5th grader looking up pictures on Belgium to put a Belgium project together, and how much time those kind of things took to find anything. Now you could find anything anywhere immediately. It's just awesome.
It's interesting that it was this month that
Speaking as an old lady here.
Right, exactly.
Totally agree.
And you remember when we were kids, it was a big deal for your family to own an encyclopedia. And it was just this month that Encyclopedia Britannica stopped publishing.
Yep.
So it's a sign of things to come. The iPad has been adopted, or is being adopted, faster than any other piece of technology in the history of the species. That from the telephone to the to the television to the DVD player, nothing, even the cell phone, nothing is as fast as the iPad being developed right now. The tablet computing. So we are moving rapidly to this new paradigm.
And when you think of the things that, all of this on this table, as far as the extensions, Marshall McLuhan, you know, about how the typewriter is the extension of your hand, and just look at this table full of 3 computers and this old camera that's 10 years old now, but just
the
phone. The phone, and the ones that
also a computer.
just think of the extensions in our brain and in our eyes. All of this is just, you know, in our little time span, just, you know, amazing. But anyway, what else? What else?
I
is
say,
new
if
and
you're
fun?
not in awe, you're missing it.
That's good. I like that. So show us something awesome.
Well, I'll tell you something really awesome. It blew my mind. I did a story last week on this. It was some Stanford research in astronomy that was exploring nomad planets. You ever heard of nomad planets?
Not by that name, no.
Nomadic planets. Planets
Ones
that
that
aren't
are-
associated with a star system.
Oh, right, okay. I have heard of that, but I don't remember that
Okay,
name.
well, here's the thing. They say that there are not 10 times, not 100 times, but 10,000 times more nomadic planets in the Milky Way, in our local galaxy, than there are stars with, around suns.
Wow, I didn't know
10,000
that.
times more.
Wow. What it would be to live on a nomadic planet? It'd be dark.
Well, no, it would probably be dark, but they
Depends on
could
where
have
it is, I
volcanism, they could be hot.
Could be hot.
And the panspermians and those that are into life traveling through the galaxy feel that these planets are how biology has hitchhiked from star system to star system. They used to think it was just comets, but comets don't have that range that planets do. In terms of supporting a sophisticated ecosystem. And there are so many, and so that blew my mind. That was, realize that it was only 100 years ago that we even had the concept of galaxy. So and the more that we find, the more amazing what's actually going on is.
I
And it
remember
was like 500 years ago that we thought Earth was the center of the universe.
Right,
you
yeah.
know? I mean,
Don't some people still think
some people think they are the center of the universe, but they just happen to be on Earth.
Yes.
That actually was the subject of one of my last shows of View from the Center of the Universe.
Oh.
And in a sense, we are the centers of the universe.
Infinite centers, that's right.
Yeah,
Well, that's the
centers.
thing. When you start getting consciousness into the equation, perhaps it's the mercurial thing that allows us to travel through the universe. The other thing that's really exciting right now to me is the convergence of shamanism with science. Those are classically two different worlds.
And where do you see that?
The ideas like the Gaia hypothesis, the idea, Lovelock, the Earth. If you ask most scientists if the Earth is alive, They say, well, maybe there's a lot of living things on the planet, but the planet itself is a living thing. That's debatable. More and more are beginning to see that it might actually be alive itself. You see, and if the planet is alive, what does that make the solar system, or the galaxy for that matter? You know?
But what? And I guess also, what really separates? What's
life becomes the question,
right?
Then,
and
which
why
is a good
are we
question to
different
ask.
Than a tree.
And well, life is
Doesn't
important
matter.
because it means that it's not just random events that that are impacting you. That a lot of things that are seemingly random may actually be mediated by the larger forces around us, much like you mediate the forces around your cells. You know, you have 100 trillion cells. They are being taken care of by the higher you.
Right.
And if it's alive, that principle would apply to us. So supposed coincidences or meeting people, things like that, could all actually be part of the larger living organism that we're part of. You know, so starting to contemplate ideas like that is becoming more and more mainstream, and not just a shamanic state of consciousness.
Okay.
So that kind of blows my mind. These cell phones, these things, I think will be where all our laptops and everything goes to. It'll go into this, and this will give you access to the planetary wisdom, or the knowledge anyway. The wisdom is up to you.
And then where will they go?
What, these? They'll go inside our DNA.
There you go. Yeah, they'll fit as jewelry on your ear, or you know, you can have a tattoo that. Oh my goodness, we've had some really interesting articles on the show. You know, they're actually designing devices that get their battery power from the salt in your blood. And
that's good.
You know, they're doing like subdermal. Oh, that's what it was. There was a subdermal monitor that could be used to display, you know, like a cell phone message, and basically the pieces of the monitor would show up under your skin, and it would be powered by your blood, and it would receive some kind of wireless signal that would be visible on your skin. I mean, this is not science fiction. This is a journal article talking about research that's being done in universities, and people think it's interesting.
The cost of gene sequencing is falling precipitously. It's getting ridiculously cheap to sequence your genome. And that's important because medicine, for example, will be tailored to you, your genome. That's what Steve Jobs did before he died. They sequenced his tumor. They knew exactly the genome of this as well as him, and were able to target drugs specifically for that tumor. And that kind of thinking will not be just for the rich in the very short future, but for everyone. And hopefully have better results than Steve. But he did leave probably an extra 5 years because of that. You know? It'll be considered the dark ages to be given drugs when you don't even have your sequence of the patient. You know, seriously dark ages, because everyone reacts differently to things. So we're right on the verge of a renaissance in medicine.
So the Kurzweil statement, if you live to be 100, you could live forever, may actually be true.
Yes, yes. We're very close with the Kurzweilians and the singularity. And the fact is that if you can extend your life for as long as you can, if you're like 60 years old today, there's a chance you could live to be 200-300 years if you can extend your life 5 years more than the norm now. Within that 5 years, there's so much new stuff that's being unfolded that maybe you'll be able to live another 10 years because of that, etc.
But, you know, I think that the reason why that makes sense really is because of people developing a different way of thinking about health. You know, and instead of the idea that we're machines and we're going to get good at replacing the parts, I think it's a little bit more at the level of, oh, the cells replace themselves 100% every 7 years. How do we make that happen without any loss, without any degradation? How do we enhance that process? How do we nurture it back to, you know, infinite youth? You know, it's like really seeing the system as a vibrant living organism rather than seeing it as something that needs to have pieces chopped out and replaced. You know? a very different perspective.
Okay, good. We could just go different directions here.
Our show looks like it may be going national shortly, too. So.
Oh, okay. And what makes it go national and not national? I guess
Coverage on a satellite, getting sponsors, and
okay.
all that good stuff.
Great.
So we'll see. We cover a lot of stuff that Coast to Coast would cover, but probably from, I guess you might say, from a little bit more scientific point, POV, and a little bit more new media perspective too. We like to play with new media and get the audience involved, because I feel that we're moving towards what you might call a distributed intelligence, where everybody has their specialties, and we're beginning to be able to access what their specialties are more easily, rather than just a few pundits that tell you about what's real.
Okay. So in terms of everything, or just new media, like
I think the new media helps facilitate a collaborative intelligence that we have never seen to this point in time.
Okay.
And what I like to do is experiment with mass media, the one-to-many transmission like this, the television and radio, to create a feedback loop, if you will, to harness the collective intelligence of the species.
Okay, and that's more the feedback loop. Is
Yes.
more of the new media that you're talking about.
And the new media facilitates that feedback loop.
Okay.
Yeah. Instead of, for example, on talk radio, instead of just calling us back, and like on many times the lines are busy all the time and you can't get through and it's a pain in the butt. Now you can just Twitter us, and we'll have the message instantly. You don't have to wait, and you don't have to, speak out loud, which is kind of disturbing for some people. They can just text the question.
Yeah, maybe this is a new evolutionary adaptation. People sit in the same room together and they all stare at their connections to their device. How do we happen to create that? That seems a little bit, you wouldn't have predicted that. It's not intuitive.
That's true, yeah.
And yet that is the emergent behavior, that people are, instead of connecting with what's right in front of them, they're connecting with something that is mediated through technology.
And also it allows the collective wisdom to participate, not just in terms of concepts and ideas, but in terms of fun too.
Okay.
Like pull up the Alchemist Rose. You want to ask for a demo? We'll show you an interesting demo.
Okay. Well, this is art. This is technology art by Mark Buchanan that I'm very, very fond of.
It's interactive art.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the key with this. This is designed not just, we're used to, one of the things that you and I share and Son is doing visuals for parties. Right? We've done a lot of really good visuals for parties over the years.
Especially combining visuals and music.
Visuals and music, right, exactly.
Yes. And
Now-
so
Actually,
I
just-
would
I'm
say
gonna try to
we're
get the
all
camera
people
here.
who
Yeah,
believe that art is, that technology is an artistic medium.
Let's see.
Right? We're not into this idea that technology is here to enslave humanity, or that it is
I don't
diminishing
know if you can
who
see
we
that
are
very well.
as human beings.
You see what this
And when you
does,
change the angle, you can slow it down.
yeah, I want to speed it up though so it's more readily seen on television. Now what this does, it'll create a lot of abstract patterns. Is your
Just
brightness
one
up all the
finger,
way?
honey. Just use one finger.
Yeah.
And there.
Yeah. Okay, you see my finger will move with the action. So this allows somebody to create visuals, and this will go up on a big screen, say behind a band, and it can be changed by the way that you dance and move. The vortex can change direction depending on how you hold the screen, like that. You can change the pattern. The accelerometer allows you to move back and forth and play with the image so that the image becomes an expression of your own artistry.
And it's a new kind of
Yeah,
toy
it's not
that
just
you haven't ever had before.
Passive visuals. It's interactive visuals where you are the artist and you are the dancer.
Okay.
And then this image goes up on a big screen behind us or behind the band, that sort of thing. And this is an example of a new kind of wireless app that allows the audience to participate in creating the visuals associated with music.
So maybe different
Yeah.
people could have different sensors creating different parts of it? And
Yeah, you could have multiple screens. You could have different dance. You could have contests to who's creating the most interesting visuals. You could mix this with live shots of people, that sort of thing. So it becomes a much more of a dynamic environment, in which the creative artistry of the audience is part of the experience.
Oh, that's
And people
neat.
can pass this around to each other and say, that's cool. And when we do this, we'll have different programs where they're shaking it and they're turning it this way and that way. And it's like driving, right? And it could, the idea that these are going wireless now makes it easier to just pass it around and share it, and everyone can become part of the experience.
And speaking of passing it around and sharing it, I think besides this kind of, this is an invention, and this is the kind of invention that comes from a person who's literate and knows how to navigate the complexity of something like this. But the person who created this is someone who is a deep lover of Apple technology, who admires Steve Jobs, who admires the way that Apple has given a gift to humanity, and has taken that ride with them. And so that is who he is. That's how he expresses himself. And there are lots and lots of opportunities for people in a complex culture to find their unique niche and their personal self-expression as an art form. So that's what's going on. And what else is going on is the way that a device like this, which is so much fun, so entertaining for a person just in the room with themselves, or projecting on the wall for their friends, you also can do things like share whatever your experience is with the audience. And just for instance, like last night we were at the Museum of Art and History for the Glow Fest. And while we were at the Glow Fest, we were catching some of the local characters there, like here's India Joe, and we were just posting on Facebook what was happening. Can you see that?
He's cooking the famous India Joe's popcorn.
So right after you recorded that, then what did you do? You took that file and...
Send it to Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah, I
and
just
get comments
gave a
from
little
friends.
live report of India Joe spewing popcorn from the maw.
Last night. Not tonight, no.
And so,
Short clips.
television
You
is
could do it
completely
now.
different now. Yeah, we could do
video
this right
us
now.
and then put it up on Facebook right now.
We could do it
Okay.
right this second. Should we do that?
Sure.
All right, cool. So
We're now live on
Okay.
Denise's
All right,
show.
Here we are again, and there's the camera crew.
Yeah,
Got
there's
the camera crew
right here.
Okay. Right.
This is, there they are behind the scenes, and camera number 3 over here.
Yeah, now they get to see behind the scenes.
Yes.
and what's funny is that this is going to be out there in the media before the show.
Oh, that's for sure.
So that's kind of funny, huh? All right, here.
It's time now
We
for
are
forum
on Denise's show.
Okay, all that pretty stuff is happening then.
Yeah,
there too.
yeah,
She's
and
interviewing us
that's what's happening right now.
about the
All right.
future here at CTV.
Now, for me to post that, all I do is open
We're,
up Facebook and hit photos. It's getting very easy to do media, and it's becoming the new literacy. It's like reading, writing, arithmetic. It's now being able to use your smartphone for posting videos is part of the new literacy. It's just what it is. It's just how people communicate. That and texting. And now with Siri, which is very cool. Have you heard Siri at all? Have you
No.
ever played with that?
Don't know that.
Siri is the artificial intelligence entity that lives inside of all the Apple iPhone 4Ss. It's being fed by millions of people, requests every second around the world, and it's learning from people's requests, constantly learning from about
Is
what they want.
That's something new that's like
Since the last model.
an app?
Yeah, it used to be an app, and now it's just built into the operating system, into iOS 5. And it
And
is...
then what do they do with that?
Well, what it does is it helps you find things. It's like, like normal things would be sushi restaurants, right? And then she will find sushi restaurants nearby.
I found 15 sushi restaurants fairly close to you.
Okay,
And then she lists them,
Would
Aqua
you
Blue,
like to
Shogun.
add anything to the message before I post it?
let's see, we're with
And see,
Denise
this is part of
Gallant
live
in-
scribing.
in Santa Cruz, recording her show. That's fine, looks good.
But what's your show? I don't know the name.
Oh, In the Loop. Yeah,
And you ask her harder questions like,
capital.
what's your favorite color?
Ooh.
My favorite color is, well, I don't know how to say it in your language. It's sort of greenish, but with more dimensions.
Wow.
Right?
Chartreuse.
Chartreuse, yeah, kind of like chartreuse, right? And she has a somewhat of a programmed sense of
Okay.
humor.
Thank you. All right, and see,
And
do
so-
stuff
so-
like this, and now it's in a place where it can be enjoyed by others immediately and hopefully found in the future.
So everybody that's watching this show, in the future, check the past for this moment now.
Right. 7:04 on March 17th.
Yeah, wrap your
St.
head around
Patrick's
that
Day
one.
here in
And
Santa
it's,
Cruz.
Yeah, raining outside. And
Yeah.
That's right.
And Denise has, and myself have been here in Santa Cruz through the 80s and the 90s and the 00s.
yeah,
and now-
let's go
I
back to
grew
that
up here.
history.
Right,
Yeah,
and
but go ahead,
one of the
what do you
reasons why I came to this part of the area, because I do feel that Santa Cruz is a key for the new Renaissance. Because this is a very amazing place with a combination of highly talented people who are both artists as well as technologists and scientists.
And some of the most important science, like astronomy and
Yes.
astrophysicists
Yes,
and,
SETI people,
and biology.
fundamental
as we
thinkers,
said.
chaos theory, all comes from this area. And so it's a very potent combination of species intelligence that can help spawn a true renaissance that will make the Middle Age Renaissance seem like child play.
So we're a hot spot.
I think so. We're very close to Silicon Valley. We're very close to Marin,
think-
Berkeley.
It's the people here. It's the combination of people who are artistic, people who are highly educated, there's no jobs here, so a lot of the people that are here have leisure either because they're retired or because they only are here on vacation. And so
And that's okay, because there's not really jobs in the future anyway. The robots will do a lot of the work very, very soon.
right.
And one of the visions that we had here in Santa Cruz in the early 80s, when Silicon Valley was in its first heyday, was that the machines would bring about an unprecedented period in human history where we would have a lot of leisure time.
Okay.
Because so much work could be done by the machines. Unfortunately, that didn't really come to pass, because what happened was that everybody who had cubicle jobs ended up getting a computer so that they worked harder and produced more and still had to work 9 to 5.
Well, I think we produced
so-
more leisure time. However, we didn't associate it with an economically viable solution for people to use that extra time to enjoy life. I mean, most people right now are using their extra time to get more money for ridiculous reasons, because the whole economy has priced itself out of the normal range.
But if any community can figure that out, that what's wrong with that movie is Santa Cruz. We know that it's important to take time to smell the roses.
So outside of our view from the center of the universe, are there other hot spots? I mean, since you're communicating with people in Wisconsin, as you said earlier.
Yes, absolutely. There's Hawaii, there's places in the Big Island, in Maui,
San Diego.
Kauai. There are Austin, Texas. I'd say would be one of the Renaissance hotspots today.
And you did mention Montreal,
Montreal.
which definitely is. A
Yes,
lot of good technology comes out of that.
It's where there's a combination of art and science in creative ways. In
And-
Europe, Amsterdam.
And what's interesting is with our school system, between so with this technology, we're seeing it extending our eyes and our brains and all the rest of it. But it seems also the rest of our system is failing, especially education. So it seems like the iPad and the rest of it will be taking over whole society structures as well. Just like the email took over the mail system.
Exactly. Fortunately, as the old crumbles, the new rises. The phoenix rising from the ashes would be the mythic story of today, along those lines. And for education, while we see students protesting because of high costs of education today, we see professors leaving Stanford and starting a new university online. A very amazing breakthrough there. MIT has put their courses online now. A lot of education is becoming free, and online education is becoming more sophisticated than ever. So we're seeing these simultaneously happening. The old system groaning under the weight of its infrastructure, and the new system sprouting up like weeds in the cracks of the sidewalk.
So you're saying it's for free. However, how could the people that afford how can they afford to put those?
Well, that's the challenge.
Together?
How can we afford to be media professionals in this day and age when everyone has a camcorder? It's an interesting dilemma, and yet that's why we do shows on the new economy, because it's not about working anymore.
And yet the question of how do you afford things, really, that question never goes away, but we need to ask a different question. We need to say, how do we prioritize our choices accordingly? Because affording things is sort of like get the money first and then make your choice, whereas if what you already have is the gift of time, and what you choose to do with that time is what you can afford, then you can only afford to do what is your highest choice. And I just think we need to stop believing that our only choice is to make money to afford our other choices. I think we really need to have a different conversation, which is what is our priority, and how do we individuals and we collective choice makers move in that direction, and how do we stop doing the things that aren't those choices, and without just throwing the baby out with the bathwater, just change the question.
I guess the old question was, do you really love your work? But what's interesting is that was just a kind of like the edge of the new question.
Do you love your work?
Yeah. But that's the old part of saying it.
Yeah.
Because see, we're calling it work.
We are kind of like cells in the species superorganism, but with another level of sophistication beyond cellular intelligence. We are, after all, complex organisms. And yet at the same time, we're still part of something bigger than us. And I think once we're in tune with our right relationship with nature and the bigger forces that are alive in the universe, then we naturally gravitate to being in the right place at the right time. There's an increased number of synchronicities happen in your life. You begin to have you get into life, you get into what I would say is similar to what the groove musicians get into when they jam with each other. When the musicians are in a nice groove, things are happening. You can live your life that way too, where the right people show up at the right time, and you follow your cues, and things just unfold.
What Allan is saying is so profound, and we've been together 20 years, and I did not start out with such a profound appreciation of following your cues and really using synchronicities as a validating force that you're doing what you're here to do and making the right choice that's available in this moment, as opposed to the one you were planning yesterday or last week. And it's a really different, much more intuitive yet logical way of making your choices, and it's much less mechanical. you really need to sort of use your emotions and your perceptual feelers to sort of reach out to the universe and say, what's next? And follow your guidance system, which is personal and unique, and let that sync you up with things that you couldn't possibly be planning.
And I guess in a way, like some people might think, oh, they're talking voodoo. They're talking whatever.
Well, people write
this
off
is Santa
this kind
Cruz.
of
We
thinking.
talk like
That's
this.
right.
However, when you think about the fact of you want to, you know, what is your choice of the next thing you do? If you think beyond just that one choice, and you think, well, there's that choice, and this choice, and this choice, and this choice, you kind of do end up where you're supposed to be. It's kind of interesting. So any more toys in the last 2 minutes that we have here?
Yeah, I say I do carry this. I used to, before I got to just carrying the iPhone, this was my kit of gear that I would carry with me everywhere to capture the real-time movie.
And you have been capturing it for
every day.
35 years?
So my camera, it's a high definition, 64 gigs built in, Sony. It works really great.
But what people don't know about you is you have been videoing people continually and everything continually for 35 years?
Well, every day since 1987. I first shot in 1971.
Wow.
Brett Leonard once said that Allan is the author, director, producer of the world's longest cinema verite movie.
Yeah. And I've documented from the Santa Cruzian perspective the transition from analog world to a digital world from 1987 to now, where we were all basically analog in 87. Very few people had computers or cell phones or anything. And everyday documentation shows that how we've come to where we are today. So that's one of the
sub-theories. You said since 71.
71 when I first started. I don't have everyday stuff from the 70s. I wish I did. You know.
Yeah.
Our first date, he took me out and he was teaching me the art of in-camera editing, which means that you shoot with the idea that this is your shot, you know, keep it interesting, keep it short, be intentional, don't just shoot to throw stuff away and edit later. Shoot the movie, and then pay attention when you're at the end of that shot, and then look for the next shot. That's a good transition from the one that you just did. And so, you know, just the idea that you're living in your own movie and your art is emerging as you go.
Nice. In-camera editing. Tell your story. Tell your story.
Yep, and that's kind of how this whole show will be. So, because I will not edit this, except for all the cool stuff that's been going on our computers, your computer here. So anyway, we're kind of at the end of the show here, unfortunately.
This has been fun, Denise.
Well, thanks,
Puts
Denise.
you at the end.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to reconnect with you.
Yes, as always. And thank you for being here at CTV.
Thank you.
And thank you to our crew.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, crew, and thank you, CTV. You are a real treasure for Santa Cruz.
And
Glad you're here.
yeah, and tonight we had John Marr on sound, and Matilda Rand, Susie Dyer, and Karen Scott on camera, and Ron Powell as the director. John also did a good job of setting up lights and sound and the whole thing, so thank you. And we will be connecting again.
Good night.